don't need to get wet. Even that distance, you can cover yourself with a umbrella, you can cover yourself with a raincoat. There are enough methods to take care that you don't need to get wet. Similarly, the moment there are emotions, there are different kinds of emotions flowing. Just because we get identified, we are at the stage of the emotion, not at the stage of illumining that emotion. And we feel as though obliged. Now, poor emotion has come. Now, whatever be the content, now I have to become one with it and dance accordingly. Just because there is a mood, I don't need to associate myself with that mood. Adhyasyanti avivekena gagane neelatadivat. So what are you? Who is that is illumining? Amale Satchidatmani. I am the Amala. Amala. That Mala means turbulence. Amala, pure. Satchidatmani. Sat, Chit, Atma is always pure. Pure from what standpoint? That there is absolutely no turbulence or impurities at that level. Where are the turbulences? The turbulences are in the equipment. Just because the equipment is going through the turbulence, you need not become associated with that turbulence. But I am aware that it is one of the most difficult tasks. Why? You are in the vehicle as a part of the vehicle. You are so identified with it. See, when you fly, every time that it takes off, every time it lands, do you feel the sudden surge as it takes off? Do you feel a sudden dip inside it and suddenly it comes down to a lowest point? Even while you are there, sometimes you are asked to buckle your seats and not walk here and there of the expected turbulences. So why are those turbulences? Because there are speed breakers up there. No, there are these clouds and weather and that you have to go, the flight has to go through. As it starts going through, it tosses you up and down. But because we are one with that vehicle at that particular moment, we feel tossed. We feel that movement. So similarly here with the body, mind and intellect, we are a part of it, we are one with it. So it becomes very difficult for us to disassociate from it and observe it as a movement of the body, mind and intellect and not mine. But it is just a difficulty, it is not an impossibility. It is something that is achievable, doable. First we have to get convinced that I am not the body, mind and intellect. Having given this much of clarity, moving forward. Ajñānān mānasopadhehe. Ajñānān mānasopadhehe. Kartratvādīni chātmani. Kartratvādīni chātmani. Kalpyante bhugate chandre. Kalpyante bhugate chandre. Chalanadi yatham bhasaha. You are seeing the reflection of the moon. See, when you go to this Manas Sarovar, Kailash and such, untouched by humanity, pristine places. It's so beautiful, so pretty. There you can see a beautiful stretch of water, and the color of the waters is one of the most amazing blue colors that you can come across. Where was this? When I had gone to St. Peter's, it's one of the Caribbean islands. So just as I was landing, usually I don't take a window seat, but that day I was stuck in a window seat, and I had an amazing experience. Right as it was landing, as it was approaching, so you could see white sands. You're looking at it from the aerial view, so it's beautiful. And there are, at least I counted, 13 different shades of blue in the ocean. In that Caribbean Sea, you could literally count 13 different shades. Some of the most beautiful colors. So in such a beautiful lake around, nice deep blue color. There is a beautiful tree and forest around, and then there is the moon reflecting in the surface of the lake. And suddenly there is a crane which was standing on the branch. It finds its invitation in the lake. So as soon as it spots its food, it jumps and then catches the fish. Or even there is no crane, just the fish popping up and going in. There is a little ripple created. As the ripple gets, expands, moves, what happens to the reflection of that sun, of that moon into that lake? It seems that the moon is dancing. Can the moon really dance? The moon does not have any movement. But we perceive the movement. And where is the perceived movement? In the reflection only. Similarly, Ajnanat manasopadhehe, because of ignorance, we take the attributes of various movements of what? Kartritvadini chatmani, of two major factors. Kartritva associated with bhoktritva. These are two major channels, two major feeders directly feeding into ego or the sense of ego. I do. And for everything that I do, that I claim that I do, I also need a recognition for what I am doing. You should see that kids, when they start learning little things, every time they successfully do something, they turn around and look. It's a very cute thing to observe from the stage. They come here, kindergarten, first grader, second grader. By the time they come to the middle school, upper middle school or high school, they don't want to see in the direction of their parents. But when they are in their lower classes, especially the kindergarten and the first grader, it's really cute and fun to watch from there. As they stand up, hold the paper and the mic in their hand, their angle with which they stand is directly towards their parents. And they stand up, they look, they read, they look. And the mother is, or the father who is there standing or sitting there, is nodding and encouraging from there. And sometimes the parents are trying to tell them, it's covering your face, pull it down, hold the mic closer. And all the instructions being given, and the kid is like, a little confused. Or sometimes they are so serious, standing there reading it out, the parents are saying, smile, where is that smile? And after having said, read a paragraph or something, and they'll not look at anybody else, they'll look at the parents. They'll immediately ask. Sense of approval. But what starts as a cute effort, the sense of approval, starts becoming, growing into a monstrous proportion. That everything that I do, I may not vocally, verbally say, but I demand. What do I demand? A note of acknowledgement. I am not even talking about appreciation, I am not talking about name and fame. I am talking about acknowledgement. That yes, you are the one responsible doing it, if not for you, acknowledged. I feel good. And in 90% of the family Mahabharata, what I have found is absence of acknowledgement leads to rupture. There is a constant demand from within. Note me, observe me. And when does this start? As young as a 6-7 month old. By 6-7 months, do they start walking? They crawl. So as they are crawling or trying to stand or walk or suddenly fall. Not majorly, but they get suddenly hit by something. And if you are there around, try this sometimes. Look away in a different direction. When you suddenly look away in a different direction, the kid looks, wants to cry, saying that he has gotten hurt, wants to show, but you are not looking. So the kid walks all the way, stands in front of you, shows that, and then starts crying. As young as that. We say that we have grown up, but we have not actually grown up. We have just changed our ways of presenting ourselves. It is cute when the kids do it. When the adults start doing the same thing, it doesn't look nice. So we have gotten a little sophisticated with that. And that itch to get that acknowledgement is because of the kartrutva. Kartrutva, the doership. Once I have done something, I need the results of it. First of all, why do I do what I do? In anticipation of certain result, because that result has certain amount of happiness, joy or enjoyment that I am looking for, and that can be enjoyed. Hence, therefore, I am eagerly waiting for the result of it. So, there is kartrutva associated with bhoktrutva, doership and enjoyership. And whenever that enjoyership is at stake, even if it were our own responsibilities to be fulfilled, we will neglect them. Why? I no more enjoy it. Hence, therefore, neglect. Till what time? Till it starts building a pressure of inevitability. I keep asking the kids, when do you start preparing for an exam? Say if the exam is on Friday, when do you start preparing? You know, most of the kids, what they answer? Thursday night. Until they knew. But there is no return of enjoyment in it. There is no joy in it. They feel it as a pressure. They feel it as a unnecessary thing. But then they know Friday is soon approaching. Today is already Thursday. I cannot avoid it any further. And then they start sitting and learning. And then they translate it as, I work tremendously good under pressure. बेवकूफ़ी की भी हद होती है. And my point is, if you can pull such a good result under pressure, imagine the results when you are really at peace. How much more brilliant would be the result? It doesn't sink in. It's not just kids. To any age group, it doesn't sink in. Because the kartrutva has to go with bhoktrutva, and the kartrutva is immediately translated. The entire field of responsibility is translated as a burden. Why? No more enjoyment in it. There is no joy in it. Hence, therefore, I translate it as burden. In Hindi, there is a good translation for it. Kaam is the responsibility. And they don't say just kaam. They say kaam ka bhoj. Is the burden of responsibility. Why do you feel responsibility as a burden? Because the ROI is almost negligible. What is the ROI that I am looking for? Something to enjoy. And if that is not found, then the entire responsibility act itself is gone for a toss. So this constant fluctuation between the doership and the enjoyership, who is getting the benefit out of it? It is the ego, the sense of ego inside, which is constantly being fed by it, the doership and enjoyership. And that is the one who is constantly demanding the acknowledgement of doership and the enjoyership's joy. And why do we seek that? Basically because out of Ajnanat manasopadhehe. The ajnana, ignorance, that the doership's acknowledgement and the enjoyership's joy will give me a sense of satisfaction. And our own lives are enough an example. We don't need a scripture to tell that. Does it give us more of a joy and accomplishment, or does it have more of misery and disappointment? We keep anticipating that somebody should recognize, somebody should say a pat of a word, or some kind of a word, some kind of a gesture, some kind of a smile. And a lack of it and don't find it, then you feel really, the ego feels crushed. Why? It is not fed. And why do we accept it? Why do we keep waiting for it? Ajnanat eva. It is out of ignorance. That is why the Karma Yoga Siddhanta is so amazing. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Perform your actions. That which you are trying to find as a result, the actions cannot yield that result. And what are we trying to search for? Satisfaction, peace, contentment, joy, all this put together. See, the action has to be something of a uniform nature, by its own nature having all these qualities to give it to us. And the action doesn't have it. But we keep constantly running after it. Why? Only one reason. Ajnanat eva. It is because of our ajnana, because of our avidya. See, when we were young, the chemicals and the blood is of a raging kind. We don't listen to logic. Come what may, we do what we feel like doing. And that is called teenaging. 13 to 19. And nowadays I am told that it is even earlier than 13 that they keep reacting and revolting. They will not understand it. Okay, point taken. If we are consciously looking, alertly looking at our own experiences, is it not enough a proof that we are making some mistake, a terrible mistake somewhere? And what is that mistake? Wrongly trying to identify and gain that joy, that sense of contentment from the doership and enjoyership. Will we ever find it? And not finding it, who will be disappointed? Who will be frustrated over the disappointments? We keep getting frustrated and we keep getting irritated and still not realize that it is our ajnana and not the actions or the world outside which is trying to give us disappointing experiences. Having thus said, he takes a different shade of understanding in the 23rd shloka. Repeat after me. Rage cha sukha dukkhadi. Rage cha sukha dukkhadi. Buddhau satyam pravartate. Sushuptau nasti tannashe. Sushuptau nasti tannashe. Tasmad buddhestu natmanaha. Again, there are certain kinds of actions that we keep trying to perform because of deep sense of attachment. Earlier there was a certain result and that result yields a certain kind of attachment in us, and because of that attachment we keep performing the same kind of actions again and again, a cyclic motion. And raga, ichha, there is a desire. In different fields, in different places, different contexts, different kinds of desires are entertained. But the basic bottom line of all desires is one and the same. To find the component of that happiness or joy or satisfaction through fulfilling these desires. And we observe that the more desires we entertain and the more desires the kind we entertain are those which can give us little joy, So that at the end of the day, when the bottom line, I can consolidate all these joys put together, I feel little satisfied. Why? One experience or one desire fulfillment did not give me complete sense of joy, or that completeness was not felt. So what do I do now? I immediately have to-do list. In every day's tasks, I have to-do list. If in a day I can fulfill and squeeze little joy from all these different tasks, at least the whole day I would have had to go through different experiences which had given me joyous moments through and through. So there is a sense of attachment to the karma, and the sense of attachment erupts as the desire. Raga, Ichha. But what are the results? If we look at it, there are only two kinds of results. Either the presence of Sukha or the absence of Sukha, which will further escalate to be Dukkha. We have Sukha and Dukkha. And for most of us, we feel that we have more of Dukkha in life than Sukha. Because of our perception. See, if there is a pendulum swinging, what we have observed is the swing to the left side is exactly the same as it swings to the right. When you take from the center point, the swing on either sides is same, it is equidistant. So if on one side, say, there is Sukha, on the other side there is Dukkha. This is called theory of relativity, explained by Vedanta. So whenever the mind goes through a moment of Sukha, what happens? It goes to that side and seems to come back. The time seems to fly. Whereas when it goes to Dukkha, it is animatedly slow motion. So what is the feel, net feel? I don't. That is why most of us feel that I go through more dukkha than anybody else in the world. I have never gone through such a dukkha, or nobody has ever gone through such a dukkha that as I have gone through. I might have given you this example earlier. I was staying at somebody's house back in India, and they had a shy 3.5, 4-year-old. So I was talking to her father, and after 10, 20 minutes, we didn't hear her sound. So the father got a little worried. He ran upstairs to find where she is, and there he heard a sobbing sound, and it was through the bathroom. See, the bathroom door had that auto lock system which had that press knob which was turned on, and she couldn't reach that. And she had closed the door and she was locked in. And she was sobbing from inside. So the father went, communicated, and somehow went through the balcony into that little thing and got inside the bathroom, got her out. By that time, mother, everybody were there, and this girl sobbing, comes out, all tears, wiping it out. And sudden stranger was me, who was not the family member there. So she suddenly tidies herself up and she says, "This never happened to me in my entire life." Your life is what, 3.5, 4 years old? You must have picked it up from one of the adults speaking thus. But even that child feels that what she or he has gone through is the worst kind of trouble or worst kind of dukkha. And nobody else in the world would have ever gone through that kind of dukkha. Believe me. As long as we are identified with our equipment of body, mind and intellect, the others may not want to show it, and thank goodness they don't show it. They put on a decent smile, and when you end up asking how are you, they don't stop you and start narrating their entire story of their life. They leave you by saying how are you and leave you there. Thank them for that. But otherwise, every other person is going through the same kind of limitation. The dukkha cannot be different. The limitations are the same. What are the limitations? Identification with the body, mind and intellect. How bad can it be? How different can the experience be? Everybody is going through the same kind of things with different shades of it, different permutations of it. Swami, you don't know, my mind is so terrible. Good. What good, Swamiji? Good because you have realized that the mind is terrible. Now at least disidentify. No. Tell me a method to remove these disturbances. Some puja, some japa, some meditation. It is some kind of a quick fix or some band-aid solution that you put this band-aid and it will be gone. It is the identification to the limitations which is yielding these results of sukha or dukkha. Raga, Ichha, Sukha, Dukkhadi, Buddhau Satyam Pravartate. As long as the mind and intellect are in the waking condition, we realize these desires, attachments, sukha and dukkha. We may need a battery change. Oh, you already have one. As long as the buddhi is awake, as long as the mind is awake, we experience all these things. The moment the buddhi and the mind stop, which is in the deep sleep state, do we experience any one of these things? None whatsoever. And pathetic is the condition that we keep repeating this dukkha and the anticipations and the attachments and these miseries again and again and again. So, one speaker made this a remarkable experiment. I will just narrate that experiment, I will not experiment it on you. So, as soon as he came onto the podium, he said an amazingly beautiful joke. The entire audience, they jumped off their seats laughing. So, he allowed 2-3 minutes for them to settle down. Because laughter, there are 2-3 kinds of laughters. Those who think that they understand the joke, they laugh before the joke is delivered, the punchline is delivered. Even before that, there are those who already know that joke, laugh in anticipation of that joke. Those who laugh, the third kind, just at the time when there is a punchline delivered and then they burst open. And then, when everybody settles down, there are 2 or 3 in the gathering who laugh as a delayed response, because it just dawned on them that, oh, this is the joke, this is what it was meant. They laugh. and looking at their delayed response, the rest of them react to it and then laugh. So in a gathering, you can find these different kinds of laughters. So he gave them little time, settled down, and then he repeated the same joke again. He repeats the same joke again. People look at each other, but still it was an entertaining joke. They laughed again. This time, in a quick succession, the third time, he repeated the same joke. They looked at him and they looked back at him and they were silent. They didn't react. And then he repeats the same joke fourth time. In the middle of the joke, somebody says, "We have heard it 3 times, can you move forward?" Somebody screamed. So the speaker said, "Precisely the point. When an enjoyable joke cannot be tolerated when I have repeated 3 times, how long will you keep repeating your misery and feeling sorry for it? It is a miserable experience. Get over it and move forward." The entire audience was in a pin drop silence. Because the message delivered was so emphatic. When we cannot even tolerate a repeated joke, why would we want to repeat the dukkha again and again? And that dukkha which is cognized only at the time when the buddhi and mind are in the waking state. When it is in the sleep state, deep sleep state, these pains, miseries, sorrows are not even recognized. So to what field do these dukkha belong to? To the mind and intellect. See, when we had this whole issue of the projector, for many days we thought the issue was with the projector itself. That the projector was wrong, that there is some mistake with the projector. Then they tried different things, they changed the RBG or whatever, why was it giving a pink color, and they did a lot of research on that. And then finally one day there came a brilliance of thought. Let us check really if it is a system of that projector which has gone bad. So somebody disconnected it with everything else and connected it to a laptop. Bingo. Everything seemed to be straightforward. Every color is beautifully presented again. So they thought first it was a computer, then they thought it was a projector, then they thought it was then finally isolated the problem. And what was the problem? The wiring somewhere had gone wrong. Once the problem is isolated, you turn it on, turn it off. When it is on, the problem exists. When it is off, the problem is no more there. So what do you attribute the problem to? To that one thing that you have isolated. Similarly, when the buddhi and mind are turned on, we experience raga, ichha, sukha, dukkha and the various things. When the mind and intellect is turned off, do we experience those things? What those things? We don't experience anything. At the end of the experience of the mind and intellect turned on, at the end of the day, how do you feel? Tired. Invariably tired. When you wake up from deep sleep, how do you feel? When you wake up from satsang, how do you feel? Fresh. Rejuvenated. Why? A simple reason. Mind and intellect, its agitations were not there in the deep sleep, hence therefore it is rejuvenating. Mind and intellect turned on, switched on, problems. So where do you have to focus? How do we handle that problem rather than becoming one with the problem? Instead of handling the issue of the mind and intellect, we become one with it and dance accordingly and say, I am agitated. Step out of that agitation and observe that agitation, find its cause, eliminate it. Raga, Ichha, Sukha, Dukkhadi, Buddhau Satyam Pravartate, Sushuptau Nasti Tannashe, Tasmat Buddhestu Na Atmanaha. All these attributes of Raga, Ichha, Sukha, Dukkha, Dvesha, all these belong to the Buddhi and the intellect and not of the conscious principle. Hence, therefore, proven. Next time, we go through an agitation. When I say next time, it is not sometime in next 2-3 months. We know how many times we get agitated or irritated in a day. Right? Because there are enough people to highlight our agitations and irritations in and through around our life. And do you know who understands those soft nerves? Our own children. They know and they watch. They push one button and they watch. And what are these children meant for? They are in our lives meant for increasing our potentiality towards perfection, nothing less. With the rest of the world we may react and retaliate, with the children we cannot. We start mending our ways. All these belong to the Buddhi. So what do? Find a method to disidentify, step aside from that Buddhi and mind. Observe what is the trigger point that is triggering these irritations. Make a note of it. Next time around when you come across the similar kind of experience, even before the trigger can trigger it off, find that environment, find that situation and find that it is nipped at its bud stage. And who can do it? Only we can do it. The external cause for trigger cannot be controlled. What can be controlled? How it triggers inside. That can be controlled. Outside traffic cannot be controlled. What can be controlled? Inside of the car. That is where our freedom lies. So that Buddhi and Manas have to be controlled. Continuing, he says, Prakashorkasyato yasya Prakashorkasyato yasya Shaityamagneryatoshnata Shaityamagneryatoshnata Swabhavasacchidananda Swabhavasacchidananda Nitya nirmalatatmanaha Arkasya prakashaha toyasya shaityam agnehe ushnata. If I were to write this shloka in today's modern world, I would have said electricity hai shock, right? Prakashaha arkasya. The sun, wherever it is, does it not illumine? Why? It is its basic nature. Toya is water. Shaityam. The moment you drink water, it cools you down, satiates your thirst. Anywhere it is the same because it is its nature. Agnehe ushnata. The fire will give the warmth or the heat. Why? It is its nature, Baba. Anybody, anytime, any space, experimenting with them will have the same experience. When you eat a green chili, how does it taste? Spicy, right? Whether you like that spice or not, it's a different issue. You experience that spice. Some says, ew, it's too spicy. And the other says, yum, it is spicy. It depends. But its basic nature of spice, can it be changed? Why? It is its nature. I was in once a hypnotic seminar. And I think 2 of us or 3 of us, we were asked to step out of the stage. We had volunteered ourselves to be hypnotized. And then we were told, you are not allowing yourself to be hypnotized. I cannot hypnotize you. Go. So the guy who really got hypnotized, there was a plate full of green chilies. Plate full of them. And he called one of us. He said, taste them. So we went, took a bite. Really spicy. We had picked one. He did not even give us one. We picked one. See, when sometimes the green chilies, you put your face there and smell. The smell you can tell how spicy they are. They were that spicy. The guy who was hypnotized was shown that plate and said, this is cut apples. Eat. And he ate the entire plate. Entire plate he ate. And as he came out of that, he started burning. Why? The nature of that green chilies is to be that spicy. Is the nature of karma, doership, enjoyership. Giving happiness, consciously, alertly experiment with your own lives. Find out. If the karma had happiness in it as a result, as its nature, the same karma performed by anybody should be getting the same amount of happiness or same amount of experience. But when we go through that experience, when we perform that karma, each person performing it feels different. Why? Because it is not in the nature of that karma. Why go to the third person, fourth person? I myself performing the same karma, sometimes I feel I have a great satisfaction or a great joy, sometimes I don't feel like it. If it were the nature of that karma, it would have been given. But why do I feel that moments of joy even when I feel them? So it is said, Swabhavaha Satchidananda Nitya Nirmalat Atmanaha. It is the nature of Atmanaha, the self. It is the nature, Swabhava of Sat Chit Ananda. And when the agitations of mind and intellect are subdued, what shines forth, what comes out is my true nature of Ananda. That is why when I wake up from sleep, why do I feel so rejuvenated? Because until then, the mind and intellect have been in a sleeping condition, there have been no agitations. Hence, therefore, the experience is of that vitality, it's of that kind of rejuvenation. Even when I am enjoying something, the reason that I enjoy is the anticipated feel or the thought vibration has stopped. And what shines forth is my own true nature. But instead of understanding this, we stake a claim. And what is that claim? It's a very important shloka, this 25th one. A very deep concept given here. So far he has given various examples to the earlier sets of three worlds of experiences, the subtle, gross and the causal state. He has given various examples. Now he is switching gears and going into the concept of the Swabhava of Satchidananda. So here he takes a important shloka here. So we will read the shloka today and see the meaning tomorrow. Atmanas Satchidam Shascha Satchidam Shascha Buddher Vrittirite Dvayam Buddher Vrittirite Dvayam Sanyojya cha vivekena Samyojya cha vivekena Janamiti pravartate. My simple request is, those of you who have taken the books, do not read the meaning before tomorrow. The reason? You will come confused. It is that important a shloka. So come with a fresh mind, understand it, then go back and read the book. It will make more sense. So we will see that tomorrow. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.